the most vibrant members of our community with us, joining us, our special guest, gracing us with her presence, Ms. Habiba Kahinde. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you. Thanks. Really nice to see you guys again.
So without much ado, I want to welcome Camilla Nontra.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. I should come to you every day when I need.
Correct. This is Sudan.
Wow.
Sudan. Believe it or not, Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt.
Interesting.
Begin to think in a Pan-African way, because they now see that their conditions are not just about that local space, but the condition is linked to all of the other.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing this morning? Well, we want to first start by saying thank you, Lord. We thank the Lord for this morning. By Him we live, we move, and have our being. We want to thank our whole Pan-Africana community. We want to thank AfriScope community. We also want to thank our partner, Kichi Ajiro. Thank you for all the hard work you do. I also want to thank my co-host, Jesse McCoy. How you doing this morning, Jesse?
Doing well, man. You see, my gear finally came in.
Ooh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Well, today we have a special show today, and want to keep everyone guessing. We didn't say who was going to be on the hot seat, but today is going to be our own Jesse McCoy. Well, yeah. Well, Jesse has been, as far as I've known him, has been really, it's almost like a community activist. Always cares. He cares a lot about people, a lot about the Black community, a lot about Pan-Africanism. Since I've known him, he's been posting. He posts almost every day. He's either ranting about something or celebrating our greatness. Well, Jesse comes from greatness. Well, he's originally from the great state of North Carolina. I'll let him go deeper into that. But his DNA roots trace him back to Ghana and Togo.
Yes,
and he's a lawyer. He's an attorney by profession. I don't want to give out too much. I just want to welcome Jesse McCoy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Thank you, man. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to us doing this show every Saturday. This is kind of marked on my calendar. I was working this morning and I was like, I don't care what's going on. I'm stopping because
That's
How you doing,
right.
man?
I'm doing well. I woke up healthy, and it's a blessing to be alive and well.
That's right.
And I'm happy. Yeah. Well, let's get right into it. First, can you start by introducing yourself, telling our esteemed viewers about yourself, where you're from, and all that good stuff?
Absolutely. Well, my name is Jesse McCoy. You also may see it as J. Hamilton McCoy. It's my professional name. I'll get to the joke about that in a minute. I am from the great state of North Carolina. And I call it the great state because I think North Carolina is one of the few states where you can get a good cross section of everything that America has to offer, all within a state that's about 4 hours long to travel through, right? Yeah. Or maybe, well, it's more than 4, but that you can travel through within a day, right? So we've got mountains, we've got beaches, we've got big cities, we've got small towns, and we also have basically the best place for producing basketball players that you could possibly imagine, with Duke University and University of North Carolina literally 15 minutes away from one another, and an intense rivalry that goes back forever. So, North Carolina's a great place. If you haven't been here before, definitely check it out. I'm from a city called Durham, and for those who are not familiar, Durham is very important to the Black community. And the reason it is important is because long before all of the traditions and customs that we have and appreciate, and probably don't even really appreciate as much as we should today, Durham was an affluent Black city. In fact, it was the model Black city that people like W.E.B. Du Bois used to come here and write about, because
Wow.
we had the first Black bank, first Black life insurance company. We used to have Black hotels, Black restaurants. Literally, the way that segregation worked in the South versus the way that it worked in Durham is quite different. We were a segregated society, but the leaders of Black Durham and the leaders of White Durham, which were the Dukes, used to have frequent meetings. As a matter of fact, one of our patriarchs actually was a barber for the Dukes, and they would exchange business information. So instead of being a volatile version of segregation, we had two affluent cities at one time. Now, what happened since then was there was the organized construction of a highway that decimated the Black side of town roughly in the late 60s, early 70s, as part of Eisenhower's push to put highways through all Black cities in America and destroy everything that was growing. So we have been, we were gutted essentially from all of the greatness that we had achieved. And what it left behind was a lot of rampant poverty, right? So people who no longer had homes, people who no longer had businesses, and it made kind of an artificial reliance that the white community was going to open up and let people come in, and it didn't happen. So everything that kind of diminished the value of Durham and what we represented really was post-highway. And that's when you see, you know, for a time being, at least when I was growing up here as a kid, there was a big push. People did movies about like gang activity here and the crime here. And there was this mystique about, oh, don't stop for gas in Durham and blah, 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 blah. And what ended up happening was two things. One, for people who were prospective landowners who wanted to come in and buy cheap and gentrify a community, talking about crime in movies apparently reduces the value of your property a lot.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
People came and they kind of bought up the property underneath us and rebuilt it into the city that we have now. And it pushed out a lot of, you know, the African-American community. The other part of that, though, is the reason they bought, and the thing they did was very weird. We have always been a very kind of, they call it like chic, artistic place. You see behind me, like I have Muhammad Ali behind me, right? We embrace art in Durham. We've always embraced art in Durham, music, everything. And what they did was they took all of the things that were, you know, really identifiably Black in the city, and it gave them a badge of honor. So it made them feel like, yeah, I'm dangerous because I'm from Durham and I'm also art classy and all this stuff, like all this stuff. And they would like advertise it and market it as a thing, which brought in more people who wanted to be associated with that vibe, but also drove up housing prices and pushed out the people who were here who made that vibe, right? And so this crazy thing happens where, you know, there's criminality because there's resources that the community is just not getting. And then after that, and when I say criminality, I'm talking about we have one of the biggest, they call him the godfather of cocaine, one of the biggest drug dealers of all time is from here, right?
Really?
Not only that, he funneled his money into a variety of different businesses on the Black side of the city. So there's a lot of people who look up, you know, depending on what you feel about criminals washing money with business, but a lot of people kind of got their start from that seed money. So you take that and then you add to it this influx of people who aren't from here, but are reaping the benefits of being here, and the expansion of an area of North Carolina that they call the Research Triangle Park, which is largely housed in Durham County. The Research Triangle Park is the biggest concentration of PhDs, engineers, pharmacists, you have it in the nation. So you've got people who are easily making $300,000, $400,000 who come here, buy cheap, right? Buy cheap properties, and they jack up the price of everything. But it also brings opportunities for people who think that we traditionally wouldn't have. It allows our college systems. We have 2 colleges in the city, and then we've got UNC that's 15 minutes away. So it allowed the college system to thrive and develop. So North Carolina Central University, Duke University are allowed to thrive, develop, get bigger, and are able to serve more people who are interested in going to college. Another thing about just North Carolina generally is North Carolina literally has a college and a church on every corner. So you will find somewhere to worship and somewhere to learn on every corner if you want to go there. Now, you got to bypass a lot if you're going to go to the other spots that you're not supposed to be at. But yeah, so this is kind of the stock that we all came from. And there's this mix where it's like half of us, it's a concept of I want to be an academic, I want to be intellectual, I want to be somebody great, I want to be something big that the next W.E.B. Du Bois would want to write about. I want to be that. But then there's also like an edginess, right? Like there's like, look, I'm not gonna take disrespect, like, you know. and there's a balancing act that we have that's embedded in everybody who's from here, right? So we always got to kind of pick your spots as to when you're going to be the guy from Durham versus when you're going to be the guy from Durham, right? But it's a great place. If you ever get a chance to come, please do, especially if you get to go to the schools here. You can learn a lot. And it's one of those places, just like throughout our history, North Carolina has been a very important part, not just of history in the South, but history of America. North Carolina is where, if you remember, the settlers who originally came to America came down and nobody knows what happened to them, right? And they just came back and there was a tree with the word Croatoan like carved on it on the outer gate. Nobody knows where they went, what happened. They suspect they all were killed by the indigenous people here. We have a great history of pirates. Like there were a lot of pirates in North Carolina, so people didn't settle North Carolina all the time. Yeah, Blackbeard. A lot of pirates in North Carolina. And North Carolina and South Carolina used to be adjoined. So it was a pathway for slaves who were escaping from Charleston and all that, trying to get north. So there's a lot of rich history. And then we've got this moniker of being the Tar Heel state, which comes from our war generals during the Revolutionary War, who were like basically practicing guerrilla warfare before anybody knew what guerrilla warfare was. So they would like hide in trees and stuff, and then they would shoot when the British Army with red jackets were coming through the woods, start killing everybody, and the British Army would leave because they couldn't see, who's shooting and what's going on. And they were saying, the British Army scared, we should put tar on their heels so they'll stand and fight. And that's how we got this. North Carolina's very aggressive, very aggressive type place, but we're also really good people, really good food. Everybody's, if you are from America and you're Black, your ancestors probably from North Carolina. As somebody who's their great grandma or something from here. And, it's just a really dope place to be. So that's my spiel. I hope they put a check in the mail.
They should. Well, what do you call it? I've been there before. I have my uncle who lives there. He teaches at he used to teach at NCC. He also taught at Duke too. He's been there since from the 60s. Yep. So he's there. He's over 90. He lives somewhere in the Zephyr. You know where Zephyr Place is? Somewhere in Durham. Okay. Yeah. And he took me to his church when I was there. It's a nice place. And I think I know what you're talking about. I know you're upset this week about the cafeteria. He took me to that cafeteria. Is it a cafeteria?
Oh, K&W?
Yeah. Why, it's closed? It's closed down?
K&W. So let me go back. Cafeterias used to be a way of life for us, right? So we had a large blue-collar population when I was growing up here, large blue-collar population. The thing about blue collar people, they're not gonna pay top dollar for food, right? We going with $5, right? And we expect to be treated like it's Thanksgiving, right? Yeah. So what happened is these places developed that were cafeterias, basically places where they make food all day and they put it up kind of a la carte, and you grab a tray and you put it on your cart and you bring it up and your food come out to like $5, $7, but you got a whole meal. It may not be the best seasoned meal in the world. It's not like your mom is back there cooking. It's more like this is functional food for you. So we had, all kinds of that's kind of what we grew up on. The K&Ws, the Piccadillys, like that's what we grew up on. And what happened is, Piccadilly's went out when they closed. They had a major mall like South Square, and there were a lot of issues with crime and stuff like that in South Square. And they decided the best way to deal with it was to blow up the mall and build another mall on the white side of town. So that's what they did. And they built South Point, which is a really, really nice mall. But they took away kind of the heartbeat of where people would go to eat. So people started going to K&W, which is more so Chapel Hill, but not too far away. And then when we would go to K&W, like people laugh now because now it's just a place where seniors go, because seniors like to go and gossip and have their meal. And I get a kick out of hearing the stuff that seniors talk about. I think seniors are often overlooked in our and it's great to hear people who are veterans, people who, will tell you about what happened in 78, like all this stuff. So I would literally just get a plate, meet somebody new, sit at the table, and just be like, okay, well, what was it like here, in this year or that year? Yeah. And they would, fill you in. They'd be happy to talk to you because nobody talks to them all day. And you learn a lot about, what happened, who you are, who they are, and you eat for cheap, which is the real pressing thing for why I would go. I'm not trying to spend $20 for I can get for $7. So that was that. But they finally closed it down, and it's closed down because, as you can imagine, the way this cafeteria structure is set up, once COVID-19,
Wow. Yep. Okay, I see a few comments. Francesco. Okay, I don't know who he's talking about. He said you look like Kobe.
I was like, okay, I'll take it. Thank you.
And then, okay, hey, Kechi says, hey, and then Is It Now says, hey, guys, and then I think she was laughing at some of your jokes. She or he, I don't know. All right, let's move on. Well, what made you get into law? Given your background, what made you get into law?
So it's actually a funny story. So I grew up what they call now low income, but what I call poor. Couldn't afford ORs, right? Yeah. And when I was growing up, I was an athlete. I know sometimes it's hard to believe because I now got thick glasses to read. But I was an athlete. I played football, basketball, ran track, and the thing I was really good at was football. So I thought, like anybody else, I'm going to the NFL. What do I need school for? Yeah. I came across a doctor in a program that I was doing over the summer, and this doctor had like money I had never seen before. Like the house he lived in was nice. He had a family, it's like 3 kids. All of them had cars. They had food in the fridge. Like it was just a whole new world. Yeah. And I said, man, what do you do for a living? He's like, oh, I'm an anesthesiologist. So it's like, I don't know what that means, but that's what I want to do now because I want to live like this, right?
Yeah.
I said, I want to be a doctor. And this was roughly about like 9th or 10th grade. I decided I wanted to be a doctor. And I came back, I told my friends in the community, we have a neighborhood of about 50 kids. Yeah. And I told people laughed at me because they were like, 1, you're stupid, right? Number 2, like, do you even know like what you got to do to be a doctor? It's like, nah, I figured out, this is what I want to do because in my mind, I want to be paid. And while this was happening, I ended up having the first of many run-ins with police, right? So it's kind of like a rite of passage here, where as a Black man, you're eventually going to have a run-in with police. And in those times, they used to harass kids in certain neighborhoods because they felt like we knew who the person was who was involved in illegal industries or whatever. Sometimes you did, sometimes you didn't, but we don't, talk to police, right? So that's just kind of so anyway, I remember I was coming back from the store with my god brother, and we used to get up on Saturdays and get groceries for our moms. Okay. And so bringing groceries back, hands full, and police car pulls up, cuts on the siren. Guy gets out. He's aggressive. And he's like, why are y'all throwing rocks in the road? And we didn't know who he was talking to. We were like, what? He says, why are y'all throwing rocks and scaring people driving by? Like, well, obviously we weren't because we got our hands full of groceries. Yeah. He threw us in the back of the police car. He drove around with the sirens on until there was a crowd of people outside, including our parents. And then he opens the door and lets us out. And he was like, I should arrest y'all, but I'm gonna let y'all go this time, as if he's doing us a favor.
A favor, yeah.
And I'm looking and like these people who know us, now they're ashamed of us, right? Because they think, oh, we did something to get ourselves wrapped up in police. Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. And nobody believes you because you went back with a police car, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things was in that moment, I was like, I feel powerless. I feel voiceless. I can't be angry at the cops that'll get me shot. I can't say anything. These people don't believe me. And I thought to myself, I want to be in a position that when I'm an adult, I can make this police officer feel the same way that I felt in this moment. And I looked trying to figure out what's going to do it. Being a doctor is not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what's going to do it? And the only thing I could find that made officers feel like they were under pressure was to be a criminal defense attorney, right? So I said, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the best criminal defense attorney that you ever saw. And I'm going to come out here and I'm going to put the pressure to police departments because I want them to understand that it's not just what they did to me, it's what they're doing to everybody in communities that look like mine. So again, still NFL, the second thing was, okay, now granted, the NFL dream didn't pan out. I did have a friend who did go, and he was sure to show me his whole life and tell me how great it was. But I didn't go. I ended up getting to the end of my time in high school, and I only got one football scholarship. It was a Division III school. I was like, I'm not going to give myself CTE. I didn't know it was CTE at the time, but I'm not going to give myself CTE for Division III. If it was Florida State, Tennessee, maybe. But I said, okay. And then I got into every college I applied to, Princeton, A&T, everywhere. But nobody gave me money. Yeah, nobody gave me money, and I just couldn't afford it. So we had this conversation with my mom. My mom's like, I can't afford for you to do this. So I went down to go sign up for the United States Marine Corps. And when I was on the way, getting ready to go, deliver myself to the country, we got a letter in the mail from a school called Florida A&M University.
Oh, wow.
I applied to Florida A&M University. I didn't know anything about Florida A&M University, but they sent a letter, and the letter says that we are offering you a full scholarship to go to Florida A&M. So this was at a time when there was like scholarship scams and all that stuff. And I told my mom was like, the only way that we'll know for sure is to just, you take off school Friday, we're going to drive down to Florida and we'll talk to somebody and see if it's real. So that's what we did. And I always think we took off, we went down to Florida, to Tallahassee, Florida, 630 miles away. We actually had an audience with the vice president, whose name was Frances Logan. And she takes the paper and she's looking at it and she's like, yeah, that looks like one of ours. And as soon as she said that, I signed it. And I was like, you're not going to change your mind on me. So I got into Florida A&M. Come to find out, we learned later that what they had done was a massive recruiting process for any African-American student in the country who made a 100 or more on their SAT. And one of the things about me is I've never been the most brilliant person, but I've always been smart enough to understand systems and know how to navigate. So back then, they used to put your highest verbal with your highest math. And I used to get waivers because I qualified for waivers for the SAT. So I could take it as much as I want. So I studied for the verbal, took that, did horrible on the math, got a 610, right? And then I went back, studied for the math, took it again, didn't even care about the verbal. And I ended up getting, I think it was like a 590 on the verbal. So put it together. So that's what put me on their radar. So all of this I attribute to God just having a bigger plan for you than what you have for yourself. I did 4 years at Florida A&M. They used to do this wonderful law day program where every law school that was accredited by the ABA would come in November and talk to kids. If you were interested in going to a law school, you would talk to them and form a relationship with you. You keep in touch. And I ran into a guy who was the director of admissions at Duke Law School. And I talked to him my freshman year. Was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Told him about the police experience. He was like, all right, great. Take these classes, do this, do this, do that. So I do everything he told me to do for 3 years. My junior year, it came time to start taking tests. So he was like, you need to do the LSAT. And I said, okay, I can't afford to do the LSAT. So Florida A&M went and found money for me to take the LSAT. That's why I love Florida A&M.
Yeah.
And when they found money for me to take the LSAT, he was like, don't go in there sight unseen. You need to take a class. I said, I can't afford the classes. These classes cost like $600. He was like, you have to do it. So I took the class, took the LSAT, did horrible. And when I say horrible, the lowest grade you can make on the LSAT at that time, I think, was a 137. I got a 139, right?
Wow.
Horrible. But of course, with my confidence, I go up and I say, Mr. Director, I know that the LSAT looks bad, but my grades are good. I got a 3.7 GPA. I'm not good at testing. I didn't understand any of the stuff that the class was trying to teach me because it's another language. Yeah. But I think I'm still a good candidate. And he was like, absolutely not. We cannot bring you in. At that time, the average person coming into Duke was getting a 168, right? Yeah. So he was like, unfortunately, if you're not going to retake the test, there's not anything else I can do for you. And so I was upset. And I said, okay, well, I guess that's it. I guess I won't be an attorney. And I leave out, and there's this lady and her daughter who are looking lost on campus. So I say, ma'am, can I help you find something? She says, oh, my daughter wants to go to school here at Florida A&M. She, we're taking a tour. We're trying to find this building. So I say, okay, well, I'll take you on a tour. Like, I help her. And while I'm walking and helping her, the lady says, I saw you coming out of the Law Day building. Do you want to be an attorney? And I say, well, yes, ma'am, I do. And she says, well, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm from Durham, North Carolina. They have never heard of it. She was like, no, I'm familiar with Durham. And so she was like, well, where are you trying to go? And I said, well, I talked to the guy at Duke. It didn't work out. I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. She said, have you ever heard of North Carolina Central University? I was like, of course. Like, this is the HBCU in Durham. Like, we all know. Yeah. And she was like, would you be interested in going to law school there? And I said, I will go to law school anywhere that people give me an opportunity. It could be in Peoria, Iowa. I don't care. I will be there. And she said, okay, go to your dorm room and get all of your information and give it to me. And wow. I don't know who she is. Like, I was like, this might be a stranger. She could have got all my social security number. But I was like, look, I'm just going to do it. So I went and got all my stuff, brought it down to her. 2 weeks later, I got accepted into North Carolina School Law. And when I got here, I went looking for her to figure out, like, who is this lady? And come to find out, she was the outgoing dean of finance for the law firm. And you were so nice to me and my daughter, and you helped us out. And I seen you, talking to the guy from Duke, and you definitely have what it takes to be here. And I said, okay, well, now that I'm here, I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to do what I got to do to make this work. And she was like, well, you're not doing it for me, right? You do it for you.
For
right?
you, yeah.
So the first week of law school was, a shock for me. Like, I've never grown up around people who like are kids of governors and kids of, Congress people and business leaders and all this stuff. And it was like, you start feeling imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. And it was one of those things where I used to go up and I would talk to her and say, look, I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm looking at these people that y'all brought in, and these are high caliber people. It's like the best that Black America has to offer. Yeah. And I don't know if this is for me. And she was like, so I just want to get this straight. You believe we made a mistake in admissions? And I was like, I'm not sure. She was like, we don't make mistakes.
That's right.
And when she told me that, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to go back in here and give it my all and do the best I can. So I went back, barely stayed in school, but I struggled, and people used to respect the fact that I always went for academic support. I always went to meet with my professors every week. I always went to try to learn the stuff I didn't know. And even though I didn't test well, I was trying, and people always applauded that. So I barely made it back because a lot of people get kicked out after their first year. Yeah. I barely made it back. And when I came back the second year, I'm next to the bottom in my class, right? So obviously when they're trying to do like on-campus interviewing for law firms and all that stuff, you would think nobody's going to interview me.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, people love to interview folks that they can beat up on, right? So the first question is always, oh, looking at your grades, oh, what happened, right?
Yeah.
What happened? And it was weird to me because these were people who I, held in high esteem. And I would say, well, you're asking me what happened, but you don't know my story. Like I'm the first generation. We're talking about people going to college. We're talking about going to law school. Like this is unheard of in my community. So I was like, it's been rough. It's been an adjustment, but I feel like I've done well. And one of the things about interviewing me in those professional settings is I'm gonna interview you too, because I'm trying to see if it's a good fit for me. So I would do research on all the firms that would want to talk to me, knowing that they were just talking to me.
Very important. Yeah.
And I would say, looking at the data, y'all have 500 attorneys, but you only got 2 people who are Black. What's going on with that? And they didn't like that, right? Like they got me in trouble with the dean. They started reporting that, apparently you've been too uppity about what they're trying to do when they're the ones bringing the opportunity to you. Yeah. And my response to the dean was, well, they're not bringing me an opportunity if they're not offering me a position. So if we just gonna bash each other, I'm gonna bash back.
Yeah,
I'm right.
you like to take on a good fight.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the dean, at the time, the dean was like, I think this kid's crazy, but whatever. And then the big thing for me, like really my claim to fame, is after my second year, I ended up deciding to run for Student Bar Association president. So this is president of the law students, right? And everybody was like, why would you do that? Like you're barely hanging on. Like what's going on? And I was like, nah, I've been invested in this community my whole life, and I have yet to see North Carolina Central really being involved in stuff going on. We got all these Black people right around the school. We're not helping with any civil rights issues. We're not doing anything that we need to be doing. We're just pumping out new attorneys. I think we need to refocus on helping our community. And people were like, okay, that sounds weird. It just happens at the time, there was this situation going on in a place called Gina, Louisiana. The Gina 6 situation. Kids had gotten in a fight at school. Folks were hanging nooses from, the trees and all that stuff. And some kids got arrested. So I said, well, you know what? For our first civil rights issue, I think what we need to do is organize. And I've had some good partners that stepped up. One you've met already, Will Dudley.
Yeah, Will Dudley. Will, I hope you're watching.
Will, great guy. And Renee Brown, also just as dynamic. And they were like, yeah, we can do this. So we went and we talked to the dean. It was like, we think we should send a delegation of students to Gina. The dean was like, absolutely not. So we went and we found a bus company that was willing to donate charter buses to our cause. So about 30 students from North Carolina Central, we all got T-shirts printed and we rode down to Gina thinking we're going to march, we're going to meet some people, and we're going to try to advocate to get these kids out of jail. And we get to Gina, we rode all through the night to the Deep South. We get to Gina, Louisiana. We get there in the morning, and when the doors of the bus open up, we see nothing but, I'm talking about like who's who of Black America. So we see people like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Bun B, Mos Def, Tom Joyner, like everybody you could possibly name. And we're just looking around like, what? And folks are looking at us shocked because we all have North Carolina Central University shirts on. And they're like, y'all came down from North Carolina? So we get off the bus. And the first step is, since so many media outlets were there and they were rushing to talk to us, I'm trying to delegate which students should talk to who. And it was an international thing. Like they had CNN there, they had BBC there. Even somebody from the Christian Broadcasting Network was there. So
really?
Who knew? So I'm up here like, okay. I had some working activism with the NAACP prior to. So I was like, all right, well, let me, get these messages out, talk to these different groups, whatever. And it was part of a bigger march through Gina. So we do the rally, we do a march, past some of the biggest state troopers and police officers I've ever seen. It's like big, Deep South, racist, white state troopers, all waiting for something to jump off so they can beat Black people. And so we get through there and we end at the courthouse. And I run into now disgraced Mayor Ray Nagin from New Orleans over the Katrina situation, but he was super cool. And so I'm with him and I'm doing interviews with him. And they had make an announcement that Michael Bell, one of the Gina 6 students, was being released. So it felt like, right? It felt like a victory.
Yeah.
And we had to get back on the bus because, they donated the charter bus, but not forever. So he had to get back on the bus and come back. But we tried to make connections with all of the groups that were on the ground there. And when we came back, you could tell that the people who got on the bus coming back to Durham weren't the same people that got on the bus to go to Gina, right? We were different. We were all empowered about what we could do. It didn't matter what your grade point average was, it didn't matter what your class rank was. What mattered was that you helped somebody and that you took part in something that was bigger than yourself. And so when we got back, we were shocked to find out that our law professors had all worn black armbands and shirts.
Wow.
There was a local media outlet that was at the school that wanted to find out more. And so we get off the charter bus and the first person we see is the dean. And the dean is like, I'm so proud of my students. Is this, is that? See, and it was like,
yeah, right.
So and this was kind of what solidified people in saying, we trust this guy to be Student Bar Association president. I was able to do a whole bunch of amazing things and provide a voice to other communities in the law school that didn't historically get an opportunity to shine. So, if you were LGBT, I wanted to make sure that your events and all that were well catered and had everything set up, because I don't want people feeling like folks are ignoring that. I think it's important. If you are, I don't believe in any of the isms. So I'm not for sexism, racism, homophobia. I don't do any of that. Right. So I was just trying to make sure that everybody had their voices heard, which I think held me in high esteem for a lot of the people, even folks who don't look like me who were at the law school. Okay. And then I graduated in 2008. And funny thing about 2008, there were 0 jobs in 2008.
Yes, the economy was really bad then. Yeah,
really bad. So I passed. I took 2 simultaneous bars, which is crazy, and I wouldn't recommend anybody do it. You probably don't have to because they've changed it. But I took North Carolina and New Jersey because I met this wonderful woman in law school who happened to be from New Jersey, and I didn't know where I would end up. So I took and passed both state bars. And then from there, I was like, look, I don't know how people get jobs in law. So I'm going to do what I know to do. And that's just go door to door and ask people, can I work at your firm or can I work in your office? And I'm going to work free, just to find out how this works. So I'm thinking somebody's going to be like, look at this entrepreneuring American. He wants to come here and learn how this works. But I got called everything but a child of God. Like people called me a disgrace to the profession.
Really?
Yes. I got doors slammed in my face. And this is like me offering free work with a license. So I was like, I don't understand what the problem is. And the last person, after like a solid 2 weeks of going door to door, the last person is just the nastiest guy. It's a white attorney in South Durham, the nastiest guy in the world. And he was just, get out my office, get out my face. I can't even look at you. And he slams the door. And as the door is getting ready to slam on my nose, I see on the wall his license. And it looks exactly like mine. And I thought to myself, why am I begging you for anything?
Yeah.
I need to at least put my own shingle up and just see what happens. Right.
Yeah.
So I went and, one of the things about being an entrepreneur, particularly since I'm the guy in Durham who, like, I was a hustler. Like, I can buy candy, resell Chick-fil-A sandwiches. That was my thing. I can't be broke. You know what I'm saying? My mom was utilities. I can't be broke. So I was always working. I always had hustles. I was like, let me just stick to what I know. So I opened a firm based on the concept that this preservation society in Raleigh said, we got all this empty space that nobody uses. We don't care about the rent. We'll charge you $300 a month, right? We just want somebody to use it. And it was literally 1 block away from the courthouse.
Wow.
So I said, all right, I paid out for a year. It was like, I'll just buy a year of the space right now. And then what I did was I had some cards printed and I went to the main place where Black people discuss their legal problems. And that's the barbershop, right? And I sat and I used to sit in the barbershop and hear everybody talk about, man, they came and got me on Friday. Man, she taking out child support. Man, I'm trying to do this, but my job tripping. Blah, 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 blah. And I started just handing out cards at the barbershop and telling my barber, like, look, Jamal, if anybody comes in here with an issue and they actually want to do something about it, if they call me and say you referred them, I'll give them a discount. So he was like, so he started giving out cards. Then, unfortunately, because I am from Durham, I did have some people who unfortunately were incarcerated. So when I would go to visit, they oftentimes get transported from jail to jail to jail, and they run into people who might be there for a long-term visit or who might be there for short-term visits. So for people who are there for short-term visits, they would say, look, give me some of your cards. I'm going to pass them off. If somebody calls collect and they leave my name on the voicemail, that means I sent them, and take care of my people. If you take care of them, they're going to take care of you, right?
Okay.
So that's how I built my practice, barbershops and jails, right? I say, look, folks that nobody really talks to. And I got so many clients because everybody in jail, the one thing I'll say, there's a certain honor to it because people are really concerned about what's going on with their family outside of jail. Yeah. So even though we're like, oh, you could die any minute in here, they're like, yeah, but my mama needs help, right? So it's like, all right, I'll help your mom. What does she need? Oh, she battling with the landlord. Bet, I'll take care of it. Cousin was in a car accident. I'll take care of it. Somebody wants to start a business. I'll take care of it. So I kind of made my name being the guy who either litigated cases or helped out people in the community that folks wouldn't have ordinarily touched. Yeah. And once I did that, what I didn't expect was that it was going to lead to other business. So then attorneys who were going out of business were like, I'll give you my book of business if you just take care of my people.
Wow.
Get that? So we were doing well. We had that for about 4 years doing my business, and I was able to put a good friend of mine on when he came out and couldn't find a place to work. I was like, come work for me. If you pay me $300 a month for rent, then you can stay here. So now I'm paying zero rent. I got my money back. Yeah. He was able to get really good experience doing the stuff that he wanted to do. He was the only Black person doing securities arbitration work between Atlanta and Washington, D.C.
Wow.
One of the coolest things about him is he didn't want his clients to know he was Black because he felt like they wouldn't want him to represent their interests. These are white people who lost money in the financial markets, making, losing like $50,000, $60,000.
Yeah.
Get them all kinds of settlements. And when they would come to sign paperwork, I would just act like I was the intern, right? Sign or whatever, but just a fascinating guy. My girlfriend at the time, but now wife, worked there with us because she wanted to see if she wanted to do litigation. So she did that for a while. And then she was able to go on and get her own career doing things she wanted to do. And, and that was kind of how we started. We did that for 4 years. When I found out I was having a kid, I was like, oh, I might need to get insurance. Insurance might be worth it.
Yeah.
And I went and got a job working at Legal Aid of North Carolina, doing largely domestic violence victims advocacy work, foreclosure defense. Basically you name it, I did it, and I tried cases everywhere. And then, after doing that and doing some public housing cases and all that, I ended up coming back to Durham at Legal Aid to be their housing supervisor. And this was when Durham was dealing with a huge eviction crisis, which we still do. But I was the only guy who would sue, the housing authority or sue landlords or whatever. And I started getting settlements for people. So I'm getting big checks. And I would checks into these communities, and everybody would be like, hey, how does she get money and I don't? I got roaches too. Like, well, you right? So I did that, was able to help a lot of people in the community, kind of made a name for myself in the community. Plus, because I started in criminal defense and I unfortunately knew a lot of people who get caught up by the law. I had a whole bunch of people who, I represented who were friends of mine or people that I knew from school.
Yeah.
So, just the community popularity piece is what really made my journey worth it. And I also got an opportunity to really cross-examine police officers, which is the reason why I started on this journey in the first place. And I like to believe that the work I did there was beneficial for the people I was representing in those situations as well. So,
Cool.
yeah, man, that's kind of the journey. And then from there, I got the call from Duke University, and they were like, "Hey, are you interested in possibly teaching at Duke?" Like, hell yeah!
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Such an inspiring story. Well, you have my fans. My wife just made a comment. Thanks for sharing your story, Jesse. Very inspiring.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so you actually answered two questions. I asked you about one question. You answered the next one was why you're so passionate about the Black community, and you already answered it by answering a law question. Then let's shift gear. Okay, I think Kechi said that's beautiful. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the Pan-Africanism. What made you get into Pan-African? What attracted you to Pan-Africanism?
I'll tell you the story. So my mom was part of, I don't know, we don't really know all the details. I usually find out from my aunt over Christmas. We got a few beverages going. But my mom was involved in something in the 60s and early 70s, and she ended up having to go to Ghana. And she was in Ghana for a while. And
Okay.
I found out because I came across this book of Ghanaian stuff. And she had pictures. She had, like little postcards. She had, we found like a box with like machetes in it and stuff. So it was like all kinds of cool stuff. And I would ask her about it and be like, "Did you go to Ghana?" And she was like, "Don't worry about it. That's not your business. Like mind your business." Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the story is. Right. But whatever the case may be, I was always inspired because I said something, I'm a big fan of my mom. And I feel like something pushed her to feel like a trip to Africa was necessary, or at least, she had to go. The story I'm told is it wasn't really an option. So I was like, man, I wonder what it is that made her take this journey. And I always had this dream of going back and walking her journey. Yeah. And when I got to college, I had a brilliant professor, Theodore Hemingway, for Black American history. Now, keep in mind, I went to Florida A&M, and Florida A&M is unlike any other HBCU in America because there are Black people from literally every country and continent at Florida A&M.
Really?
A heavy Caribbean influence. So you're going to get a lot of Haitians, Jamaicans, Trinidad, Tobago, a lot of West Indians. We had a professor, Victor Ogilito, who used to be, he's Nigerian, the second in command of the Bank of London. So It was like, whoa, like it's just powerful people from all over the world. And I grew up in a town where like everybody knows your face, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, it's Black people from all over the world who are doing amazing stuff. Some of the smartest people I've ever met. I wonder where that is. And Professor Ogilito and Professor Hemingway would always be like, you don't even know who you are. You don't even know where you come from. You don't even know what you do. And they would tell us all these books to read that everybody looked at as, oh, it's assignments. I don't want to do the work because it's college and you want to have fun. But I would literally go to the library and read this stuff and be like, I didn't know about this much Black history. I didn't know this much about the movements throughout the history of America. I didn't know this much about what was going on in Africa at the time. I didn't even know who Kwame Nkrumah was until I started reading this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so you mean to tell me that it's people in another continent who actually care about what's going on with Black people here?
Yeah.
And it's a very powerful concept for somebody who grew up like me. Like people in my block don't care about my safety. They will rob me in a minute if they can. Right? So I was like, wow, it's people who actually care. So maybe we should try to reach out and see what's going on and try to catch up, like figure out what we've been missing. So my friend base from college is very diverse. It's Black people from everywhere. I feel like I also learned that even in America, Black people from California are not the same as Black people from Philadelphia. And it's just different. And it's beautiful. It's like a beautiful mixture of so many different cultures. But the big thing for me was I want to go. Like I was like, it's one thing to read about these places or read about all the accomplishments that happen, especially from like Ghana, Nigeria. Like we hear about Ghana, Nigeria. We hear about a lot about South Africa, but not all the good things. We hear more so the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that we were dealing with. So I was like, man. So this thing came along while I was working called Periscope, and
Yeah.
Periscope, and I started tracing places in Africa. I followed people that were doing scopes from Africa.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I followed a radio DJ, and I think she was in, I want to say Nigeria, but I'm not sure. So
Yeah.
I followed a radio DJ, and I was just listening to like, what do they play on the radio? And I remember sitting there listening to every track she played in the hour that she was on the scope. And I was like, these are all the hip hop songs that we think are garbage here. Like, this is, and I was like, that's how so-and-so whack rapper gets paid, because he's got stuff going over that other people overseas like, but we don't like it here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Then I started following people and listening to folks' church services. And I was like, man, you know, I feel moved. Then I started seeing people and they would have festivals, and just the way that people, you know, Periscope taught me that most people are committed to the same things. We want to work, take care of our family, and have fun. That's pretty much it. We don't get caught up in all the political, governmental crap. We just want to have a good life, right? And we need something for our kids. And I said, wow. But I was scared to talk or scope or do anything. And I came across this group called Afroscope. Yeah. And I was like, it was a group of Black people from all over the world who would take a little point to share their voice or share their viewpoint from where they were. And they would talk, and I would be so inspired because I'd be like, wow, I didn't know there's Black people there. And Periscope make you feel like you know people. So it's like, cool people. I met Ketchy. I was like, oh, she's awesome. And so eventually I was like, I'm gonna do a scope. I'm gonna do one, and I'm gonna see kind of like if it's lame or what. Like, I don't want to. So I did a scope, and I did it on Black history, right?
Oh, okay.
And people loved it. Like, people say, oh, this is great. It's amazing. Join this circle. And I joined Periscope, and that's when I met so many incredible people, including yourself, sir. I met so many incredible people on Periscope, and I got more than just meeting people. You get to see how people live, because we don't get images of Africa here. We don't get a lot. Somebody who went and they bring back pictures or video. We don't get, we get what Western society wants us to see about Africa. So if something goes wrong in Africa, we'll hear about that. We'll hear about when Nigerian schoolgirls get kidnapped. We'll hear about when there's famine. We'll hear about when there's war, genocide. And what's crazy to me, and this has always been in my mind, we'll hear about this stuff when it's coming from the continent of Africa. But the same stuff happens in America. Like, nobody says anything.
Nobody says anything.
So I'm like, well, you know, police been killing Black people for a long time here. But okay, Rwanda, right? So anyways, I started looking, and I started seeing kind of what does it look like? What does the highway system look like? What does the city look like? What do people do when they're not at work? What do they, people party and have fun just like we do. So I was like, man, this is inspiring me to actually want to go. And if nothing more, at least to go to Ghana so I can walk the streets that my mom walked, and I can kind of experience what it was that she experienced at the university there. And just, get a feel, like, eat African food and see what it's like and reconnect. And what happens is when you talk to people like my friend Will, who have been, and they tell you, like, I can't even explain it to you. Like, you feel like you are at a family reunion for people you've never met before, but who now know you, right? And I was like, I love family reunions. So it's like I want to go. I got to get there. And so what we've been on the quest to do is to try to figure out how to make the dollars and cents add up to make this trip possible. And so that's my plan. I'm planning on going, COVID willing. I'm planning on going over there, hopefully in 2021, and seeing for myself, getting that experience, making some connections there. And then now y'all got me convinced, like, now people got mansions for $35,000. And I'm like, $35,000 in America can't even buy you like a 1-bedroom apartment. So I was like, it'd be nice to have a home. And on top of that, we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg last night. We've lost a lot of the progressive wing of the court system.
Yeah.
We have a crazy person running as president. I don't care if he hears me, he's crazy and racist. And I feel like now is the time for people to kind of assess their level of comfort with the direction that America is going in right now. And I think even if you're not of the opinion as a Black person that you're ready to throw it all aside and move and try to integrate into another community, I think you at least need to be open to the idea of having an escape plan, if you will. We have been set back probably about 60 years with this president. And I feel like, the one thing I think that I will give him credit for is having President Trump has taught me that you cannot rely on government to do the things that you need to do. Yeah. So what is important to me is for us to make our own networks, for us to make our own transactions and make our own businesses, our own communities. And we don't need to rely on Western media or Western government or anything like that. If they come through and help, great. If they don't help, I feel like we, particularly as a Black community internationally, we are the money. We are the base. Like, we're the ones who pay for the Jordans that come out. It's not exactly enough. We're the ones who are the consumer base. And I feel like that consumer base would be much better spent with us, right? So if we can do it with us and we can build relationships with our own across the continents, right? Then I think that we can make something even better than this concept of America. We can make something that's not bound by geographic restrictions. We can make something that is a true community. And we've already seen examples of that done with Black Lives Matter movement. Even with, like, I remember in the 80s, the celebration that my mom had when Nelson Mandela was released, right? Oh, yeah. I was a kid. I didn't even know what was going on, but our house was partying because when Nelson Mandela was released, that was a win for Black people all around, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So I feel like these are the things that are important that we can use to really achieve all the stuff that we've been waiting on people to do. We're never going to get a livable wage in America. I fight for reparations, but I also have to operate on the understanding that they're not trying to pay you that reparations, even though they certainly owe it for all these years of slavery and all these years of free labor that they were able to build a whole country based on. Yeah. But we're just not going to see it. And I think that we also shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes because we get caught up in, here in America, we're big on who gets invited to the cookout, right? Mm-hmm. So the white person who does minimal work to help advance our interests, but at least is public with it, gets the proverbial invite to the cookout. But what that teaches me is I think there's a value to that. Like, I think there are some white people who want to feel connected to our community because they know we the ones who make the hot stuff. Like, we had a part. Black people, I grew up in a poor neighborhood and we still were partying, right? Like, that's like, it doesn't matter. We're the ones who gonna be grilling out. We the ones who's gonna be partying. We gonna find a way to celebrate life regardless of what the circumstances are, right? And I'm talking about, I've seen 2 aunts die of cancer. We threw parties in the hospital, right? Mm-hmm. Celebrate life, right? And so I think, in my opinion, we get that from you. Like, this is something that we have been able to pass down to all these generations, despite the fact that we've had things like slavery, Jim Crow segregation, everything that they meant. I grew up in the 80s, the crack era. Your government flooded Black communities with a drug that was highly addictive to kill us, right? And we're still here. We're still here. So the fact that we overcame so much, and it seems always that there's a new fight to have and there's another battle, but part of that is just being American. Like, okay, it's going to be a new fight, but you don't always have to fight. You need to think about your mental health, and sometimes it's good. Like, I travel internationally in the summers. I didn't this year, but I travel, like meet black people in other places, sip you some nice whatever you drink, sip it out of a pineapple if you can. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Learn about other cultures and contribute to other cultures and make relationships in other cultures, because those things help you when you feel like in America you made to feel like you're just a speck on something much bigger and it's going to do what it wants to do without you.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you connect with black people from other places and you're like, y'all just like me, y'all do the same stuff I do. We can get along, we laugh and joke, we can have our own connection. And truth is told, there are more of us in the world than you might think.
Exactly.
It's a lot of us. And I think we are what drives the world. We drive the art, we drive the athletics, obviously.
Yeah.
We drive everything.
Spending power. Spending power. Yeah.
I got to a point where I used to tune in. I love watching the Olympics. You know why I love watching the Olympics? Because it don't matter how many people are competing in the event. It's going to be a black person that's going to win.
Exactly.
They're going to win the event unless
Yeah.
it's Winter Olympics. Other than that, if it's the Summer Olympics, you know who's going to win the basketball. You know who's going to win track and field. You know what's going to happen. And it's just a matter of which person, because, here we
either Usain Bolt or Tyson Gay or something.
Yes. In America, we root for everybody black. That's everybody black. So I don't care if you're from Ivory Coast. I don't care if you are from Jamaica. It could be 10 of us racing against each other, and I'm rooting for all 10 of us. Right? I want us all to cross the line at the same time. Right? So, I just think it's important for us to understand and appreciate our blackness and kind of understand and credit our ancestors for having this. I don't know what it is, if it's a spiritual energy or what, but just having this innate ability to, no matter how bad the situation gets, be willing to fight when necessary. But at the same time, be willing to celebrate the most minor of achievements that you could possibly get, because that's what life really is supposed to be about.
Okay, so let's go to this question. I think this was when we're talking about the evictions. I could have used him for housing problems in Georgia. This is from Jawara O Gambian.
Okay.
Yeah, we had. Okay. Yeah. Well, you can get in touch with Jesse at J Hamilton, right? J Hamilton.
J Hamilton at gmail.com. J Hamilton McCoy at gmail.com. I'll say, I'm not licensed in Georgia, but I definitely know people in Georgia. So I can get you on. But the main thing for evictions is I don't want anybody, and this is my mess. Where's my camera? I want to make sure I'm good. I don't want anybody who is going through an eviction to feel like you are somehow subhuman or less of a person. You are just as worthy than anybody else. And what I will say to you is evictions are a process that has become a phenomenon created in America because we commoditize living, like something that is a basic necessity, food, clothing, and shelter. We don't look at it as a right. We look at it as a commodity. Yeah. So you have to be able to afford it. And the problem is you always are going to be renting if you are historically blocked out through oppressive, discriminatory laws that prevent you from being able to access the financial resources to buy. If you buy, you wouldn't rent, right? But because we've had things where we had to actually have a federal housing act passed so we could even be considered for home ownership, and that was roughly in 1968. Because of that, and because of predatory lending and redlining and reverse redlining and all these other practices, we are made to feel somehow that if we cannot compete with ever increasing rental costs, that we are somehow wrong. We're flawed. But keep in mind, these are the same people who also aren't paying you a livable wage, right? So they're raising the price on you knowing that you can't make it. So it's not enough for us to just, look at ourselves. And I definitely don't want people shutting down saying, oh, I'm getting evicted. I think what you need to do is be smart about how eviction works in your locale. So right now we have hot off the presses about 2 weeks ago, a Center for Disease Control eviction moratorium. One of the things about this moratorium is the burden is put on the tenant to provide a declaration form to their landlord to say, I don't make over $99,000 a year, or if I'm married, I don't make over $198,000 a year. I'm trying my best. I've reached out to all the government sources that I can to try to pay. And to the extent that I can pay, partial payments, I'm willing to do that. And you sign this form, and the beauty of it is they cannot evict you for the rest of 2020.
Wow.
Now, it doesn't do anything to waive the fees or the rent costs that are going to continue to accumulate.
Yeah.
It's something to press on your government to say, look, y'all need to put rental supplements with these moratoriums so the landlord can get paid and I don't have to worry about it. But for now, as long as you are in a position where they can't do anything to you, and you'll be there if you give them the declaration form, then you're covered through December 31st of this year. So take that stress off your back, throw it somewhere else. If you want to try to be proactive about it, now is the time to try to negotiate. So I've been telling people, like, look, let's say landlord is going to now be able to charge you August, September, October, November, and December, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that's 5 months of rent. Maybe I got 3 months of rent. I don't have 5 months. Well, you can't do nothing to me after I gave you that declaration form. So say, get down and lay down. I'll give you 3 months and let's just call it even, right? Let's call it even. You can say, no, don't give them anything. Like, okay, you don't want to take the 3 months? All right, cool. I won't pay you nothing. And I'll just make sure I move out in December.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to our questions. Be and build your own media. That's from
Absolutely.
Kechi. Yeah. And then Gertrude was agreeing with you. He said that, and that is crazy that reparations have been paid on multiple groups.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Even it's been paid to the Italians, the Japanese, and Jewish, and of course the Native American, rightfully so. But then our people too need to be paid the reparations. And then let's go down. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So those are the comments. So keep your comments coming in. And so I just wanted to comment on about what you had said about moving. And a friend of mine went to Ghana. He lives in Europe, and then he was sitting out. He went somewhere, we were having food and all that. He saw how happy everyone was. Like, man, these guys don't have much, but they're just happy and playing loud music. It's just like New York or wherever. Yeah. Playing loud music and being happy and having fun, eating some kebabs.
What that?
Yeah. And all that. Just and enjoying themselves and living their life. And at least go visit. You don't have to move, but go visit, go see where your ancestors walked, go see the place for yourself. Don't rely on the Western media. They show all the wrong images, show malaria and all the other things. And NGOs who take the money and run with the money, they make all these donations and all that. Not good.
Yeah. And don't give no money to that Santa Claus man that come on TV late at night talking about your 10 cents a day can change this. Those people taking your money. First of all, right? when have you ever known, right, a white man to come into anybody's black neighborhood and help? Right? Just being real. Somebody look like Santa Claus come into my neighborhood and be like, oh, I see you don't have lights and water this month. 10 cents a day, and we're going to take care of all that.
Yeah.
Any of that money. So my thing is, I think we need to understand what's going on in both arenas, in both hemispheres, right? It is important for Black people in America to understand the many different ways in which colonialization has impacted Africa, but also the ways that our people, our cousins, have responded to colonialization. Likewise, I think that it's just as important for people to see what is going on here in America and the many different ways that we have responded to it. The funny thing is, Periscope taught me a lot. I used to get questions from people in places like Australia, China, places where you don't see a lot of Black people.
Yeah.
And they be like, I'm just curious, like, why do y'all go to jail so much? I'm like, what? And it's because the CNN stories about Black people that go over there, it's always the worst of the worst. Like it's the one person, and then on top of that, it's a grain of salt because maybe they didn't do it, right? We got a lot of people who've been released on new DNA evidence to find out it wasn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's always like the worst case scenario, or like rap videos that glamorize certain lifestyles. And one of the things that is kind of a pet peeve for me is there are certainly people, I don't want to discredit folks who are actually involved in those kinds of criminal lifestyles. But at the same time, like, most of those people aren't going back into the community to glamorize it, right? Like they're not like, oh yeah, do this, be like me when you grow up. Yeah. Most of them are like, no, I'm doing this because obviously I'm barred out of the system of being able to participate as a working individual because I got a felony or because of whatever case may be. And this is the lane that I've chosen. But when I was growing up, if you got caught outside those people's houses, you didn't have to worry about your parents. They were coming out and they're going to be like, you take your butt home. This is not you, right? Yeah. I don't know that.
Exactly, right? Yeah. You're absolutely right. I've heard that several times from my brothers here. And like, hey, this is me. This is my life. You're smart, go to school, do all the great things, Absolutely. So absolutely right. Wow. Well, Jesse, what a great show. Thanks for telling us your story. You've inspired some people, inspired my wife.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad, man. I'm just trying to hold my end up on this show because I was gonna put together a PowerPoint and I was like, what would I put up? Do I put up baby pictures? Do I put up like North Carolina stuff? Like what? Let me show you this before we go. Let me show you this. So I told you all I'm from Durham. Durham is a very artsy type place.
Yeah.
So you see Muhammad Ali on the wall.
Muhammad Ali, yeah.
I channel energy from this, right? So one of the things that I have.
Oh, James Baldwin. Yeah.
And the way that he's looking, it's so introspective, right? He's like, who are you, right?
Yeah.
So, on my wall every day, I got James Baldwin. I've got, of course, the legends.
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm and Martin.
Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King.
And because I am also a writer, my sister-in-law has got me good old Toni Morrison.
Toni Morrison, yeah. Wow.
Yes, and I have some more artwork that's on the way because my office is literally a museum of Black excellence. So I got a Thurgood Marshall painting that is on the way. But I say all these things to say it is important that you surround yourself with positive energy, particularly positive Black energy, because the media is going to try to flood you with what they characterize you to be, right? Yes. And they're going to try to make it seem like if you can't shoot a free throw like LeBron, or if you can't, run like Ezekiel Elliott,
like Usain Bolt,
right? If you can't run like Usain Bolt, you're not worthy. And what I'm here to tell you guys is everybody's worthy. You're all worthy. Right. And we come from greatness, and half of us don't even know it. So inspire yourself with people who are, for me, people who change the world. Like James Baldwin, there's nobody who's heard a James Baldwin speech and didn't come away changed in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali was willing to throw everything away because he is not going to fight a war for a country that won't fight for him. Right?
Yeah.
Toni Morrison told us about internally in our own community how white supremacy has impacted us and how some of us are so eager to assimilate into a community to have an easier life that we lose all the beauty that we already bring to the equation, right?
Wow.
So I feel like it is important for us all to understand who these people were and the fact that you're here because these folks was fighting for you, right? Like, that's right.
Yeah.
They gave you an opportunity so that you could push the envelope a little bit further so that the world will be a better place for your kids and the generations after that. And we cannot, ignore all the hard work that was done by people before us to get us here, nor even, the people who don't get put into any kind of painting. The ancestors who maybe they were sharecroppers, but that's what they had to do to survive, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they were enslaved, but you know what? That's what they had to do to survive. we've got so much greatness that hasn't been documented, and that's for the continent as well. Like there's so much greatness that hasn't been documented because Black people throughout the history of this world have never been in a rush to state claims on intellectual property or state claims on relationships or to control other people in other countries. Yeah. It's just not our nature. We can be great and recognize somebody else's greatness as well. So, you know, I think it's important for us to insulate ourselves from media imagery and all that, and to be proud of who you are, man. Because there are people who are paying top dollar to inject themselves, to inject their lips, to inject their hips, to inject
just to look like us,
and tan just to look like you. But they want the escape to be able to go back into whiteness, because if they really look like you, they got to deal with all the stuff that's what makes us beautiful. You got to deal with the police. You got to deal with government systems that don't want to work with you. You got to deal sometimes with economics and poverty. You have to deal sometimes with the fact that people in your own community sometimes can be your biggest detriment, right?
Yeah.
Small-mindedness can be a big detriment. So, you know, it's important. Insulate yourself with positive images. Get you some art. I know some people. Like, get you some art. Set yourself up and just make sure that every day that you walk into your house, you are embracing and nurturing who you are on the inside. Wow.
That's inspired. I feel fired up, right? Right here. Well, wow, there's a whole. I mean, I want to comment on a few things, but there's a whole lot of things you said that are really powerful. Like, you know, James talking about James Bolton, Dr. Martin Luther King. You know, when Ghana had independence, Martin Luther King wrote a book, The Birth of a Nation, and he said when he saw the British flag go down and the Ghana flag go up, he said, tears came to my eyes because the birth of a new nation. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of us don't know that there was a collaboration, Kwame Nkrumah and our brothers in the diaspora. You know, he had friends from all over the world, and because he knew, you know, in order for us to see our full potential, we had to come together and build our communities together. Yeah, he was all for that. That's why Stokely Carmichael changed his first name to Kwame. Yep. And then he puts his last name on the Touré, Sékou Touré, to name himself after the Guinean president, where Kwame Nkrumah spent exile. Yeah, and to know that a lot of brothers, you know, our ancestors who fought while they were on the boat here, who fought to prevent us from my brothers from getting shipped over here. Brothers and sisters who fought to gain independence from the colonial system, like Amilcar Cabral, who, you know, went and, you know, fought the Portuguese and kicked the Portuguese out of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. Or Samoa Machel, who fought and kicked the Portuguese out of Mozambique. You know, so we have a whole line of great history that hasn't been told, and we have to tell our own stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's do a trivia quickly. I hope we still have people on here. So, who knows what's the capital of Namibia in the southern part of Africa?
Michael, where you at?
Yeah, we haven't seen Michael today. Michael hasn't commented today.
Oh, Michael's not on. All right.
Yeah. Who else? I know Gertrude is here somewhere. Kichi. We have an Amazon gift card going.
Uh-oh.
Going. Okay, we're gonna give 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Periscope, anyone? Periscope community, anyone? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So the capital of Namibia is, Jesse?
I don't know how to pronounce it right. I think it's Windhoek.
Okay, it's pronounced Windhoek. So
it
was a German name back in the day when they were colonized. Windhoek. Okay, one more question. So what's the new name for Swaziland? There's a country also in Southern Africa that's name has changed to an African name. So Swaziland, spelled Swaziland, Swaziland. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, going 1, going 2.
Gift cards.
No gift card today, I guess. All right, so the new name is Eswatini, Eswatini. Eswatini. That's the name of Swaziland now. It used to be Swaziland, and the name has been changed to an African name, Eswatini.
Yeah, I've seen. Do they have? I'm guessing the soccer team there is really good because I've seen some soccer jerseys that says Swaziland at the store.
Yeah, they haven't been that great. Yeah, they haven't been that great. So the big soccer teams have been Nigeria, in Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana. West African teams. I'm a little biased, but yeah.
Oh no! I understand, man. Be proud. I get it.
Burkina Faso, Togo too. I mean, they've all been to the World Cup. Except Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast too is very good. So all our neighbors around Ghana, really good team. Senegal, of course, is also was at the last World Cup, and they got robbed. All right, of course, they got the same point, same goal difference with Japan, and they said because they had too many yellow cards, they didn't go to the second round. Bogus. That was just a bogus, way to get us out.
Yeah,
they're really good.
Everybody who has Ivory Coast gear of any kind, if you got it in a XX, send it to me. I've been infatuated with Ivory Coast gear because they have the same colors as Florida A&M. It's the orange, red, and green.
Orange and green. Oh, wow.
And they've got. I remember in the Olympics, somebody had the tracksuit, like the tracksuit that you have over for the warm ups. And I was like, that is the most awesome tracksuit I've ever seen. So if anybody listening, email me, let me know. But yeah, man. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm hoping, I think when we talked last, it was going to be a May 2021 trip for Ghana. So I'm just
trying. The borders are open now, so no.
Even to Americans?
Oh yeah. You just you have to be tested.
Okay.
You get tested before you go from of course, credible place. You get tested, and then when you get there, they're gonna test you again because things will happen on the plane. And it's just it's $150. Is it $150? Yeah, to get tested once you get back, and that's like an average. Some places it costs more. Some places you have to go to a hotel, pay for hotel, and all that. So yeah. I mean, even if you leave here, they'll have you tested before you leave, and then you show them the certificate of your, that you're free of the virus, and then get tested right there. And once you get tested, within you get the results within 30 minutes, and then you're free to go.
Okay, is this the new test, or is this still the Q-tip in your brain test?
I think the new one is just a swap, not going all the way. Yeah, just I think they can get saliva, and it's really efficient, really fast. And Ghana has done an amazing job of, showing great leadership in the fight against COVID-19.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jesse, closes out.
Yeah, man. Well, first, I just want to thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to answer questions and talk a little bit about my life. I want to thank all of the listeners who were with us and everybody who left a comment. If you have not done so already, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And make sure that you cop merch. We got merch available, so make sure that you go ahead, get that. All the information for those things will be on our Facebook page and on our YouTube. And
Yeah.
we will see you all again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah, same time, 12:30 Eastern, 5:30. Those of you in the UK or Nigeria, it's 5:30 p.m. Eastern. In Ghana, it's going to be 4:30 from now until a time changes. And so that's it for today. Have a blessed day. We'll see you on the other side. Bye.